We are so privileged to spend some time tonight talking with Tador and Koya.
Hey.
Um, yeah, so I want to jump right into things and just share a bit about what's going on in Tador and Koya's organization. So they are in month 8 of Founders Platinum qualification. Uh, their Ditto Day 1 is 6,000 PV. In the last 30 days, they had 11 launches. They went over 7,500 PV within the first week of this month. Over 45 in their organization, down 8 legs with over 50 people plugging into their team meetings every single week. These two are on the grow, so we're really pumped to get into more of the nitty-gritty of what the heck they've got going on, and just the ways that they've really leveled up in their leadership, their commitment, and how they're going to be blessed and breaking platinum legs.
Yeah, we'd love for you to introduce yourselves quick and then maybe kick it back to us. I want to share a little bit of those beginning stages of your journey from our lens.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Hey, everyone. We're Tador and Koya out of Madison, Wisconsin, proudly sponsored in business by Frank and Laura Niantici and coached and mentored by the beautiful couple sitting in front of us on the screen. And we both started our business almost 7 years ago, actually, myself 5.5 years ago, Tador 6.5 years. We were both seniors in college when we started business, and Tador had a traditional background in business analytics, has moved up in his career and grown since, now works in IT project management. I started my career, went to school for nursing. So I started my career working for a couple of years in the operating room and general surgery, and never really imagined myself being an entrepreneur. I always say that I was someone who didn't know what I wanted until I knew it was possible. Tador was a little bit more of the nature of where he had that entrepreneurial spirit. He had tried a couple of things, but once we got around this community and got introduced to people like Mason and Allie, we just really decided to commit from the front and realize that there was a lot that we could get from this environment. So I'll pass it back to you guys there.
Excellent. Tador, I'd love for you to share, or actually I'll share this for you and then you can grab onto it and go with what you want. But I just remember as you were coming through the process, there were a couple things that happened during your process that stood out to me that had an indication that this could be a really, really long-term solid. Number one, you drove through a snowstorm to get to a team evaluation or a group evaluation. True, right?
Very true. Yes.
You meet Kyle Wills. Number two, you were on a track to go become a financial advisor, a financial planner potentially. And I challenged you in your process to choose what you really wanted in life. And you chose this over that career. And you didn't have another job lined up, right? You didn't have another option in terms of income. So you chose this over that. And then one of the things that happened as you launched that I observed, Tador, is we grew a fast friendship because you went to work. And we grew a deep relationship through the work you put in early on. Imperfect work. A lot of those people aren't here today, but you put in a lot of work out of the gates and we grew a deep relationship really fast. And I think a lot of people want that with a coach and a mentor. They want that. How do you get such a strong, great relationship with somebody? You go do the work. And so anything you want to share there in terms of kind of out of the gates?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I had, back to those early days, 6.5 years ago, like Chloe was mentioning, I played around with a lot of different businesses. I was probably like the get rich quick guy. I was the guy going to YouTube, to Instagram, trying to find drop shipping this, Amazon FBA this, trading this, just trying to find that shortcut. And unfortunately, our society is programmed to think that way. It's, hey, getting rich is easy. Getting rich is really quick. And what a lot of us end up doing is we jump around, we do different things. We do enough work maybe just to be frustrated or to think, oh, you know what, it just doesn't work for me. I'm going to go to the next thing. And the difference maker here that I found that I did not have elsewhere, paying for courses, watching YouTube videos, was a real example of somebody that had moved from the left side of the cash flow quadrants to the right side, but I could build a relationship with and actually learn and apply in my life what I needed to do. And that's the biggest differentiator of all. And that's why, when I met you, Mason, you introduced me to this community, it was just all in because there's nothing like this out there, at least what I've experienced. So yeah, I mean, out of the gates, I was somebody that, I wanted to take that seriously. And it all came down to just really optimizing my life to do well in business. My life wasn't really necessarily set up in that way. I was a college athlete. I was working. I was a full-time student. And so it was just a matter of really simplifying my environment. You know, as a sanguine, I was always kind of that individual that was always searching a good time. Like I was the guy with the soccer team playing video games until 11 p.m., starting my homework at midnight. So I had to learn how to maybe reprioritize some of my environment to make things work. But it's a little bit of my story early on. Maybe I'll pass it back to you guys.
Yeah, no, it's been such a cool journey. And one of the things that what's been really neat as we've developed a business with you guys is how you've just done such a neat job, such a great job of allowing us to work in your business, kind of what Stefan and Aaron were alluding to. You have allowed us into your business, into your lives, and then into your business. And as a result of that, you've allowed us to choose the places we want to go work based on what we see. And you guys have taken that. In fact, they have a leg that I'm not going to share names here, but they're probably growing the fastest out of the gates we've seen in our business in a long time. That Todor and Koya have done all the work. I think I met him in the process. That was it. And you guys have done that this year. So a lot of the growth is not just coming from the Taproot leg. It's actually coming from legs 1, 2, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is where they're producing a lot of the growth. And I think that leads to why the culture in your team is the way it is because you guys are just in there. And I think you wanted to share a little bit of this, and then we can have them share on that. Just you guys are in there working with people, and really up until somebody gets to their third leg, you guys are pretty much in there doing a lot of the work. Of course, we're helping in one of your legs, but just in a couple spots. Do you want to talk about your hearts around that, your mindset around that, Koya? And if there's anything you want to share, or maybe we can come back to it.
No, I can certainly share real quick, and then I'd love to hear you guys speak to tactically what you're doing. You guys became students in this environment and got really serious about that. And then through a boatload of work, you became confident in leading people when it came to, their financial management, leading people to build the skill sets of figuring out how to prioritize their time and their energy, and then get networking and get effective at networking and doing sales, all those things, right? And you haven't shied away from serving the heck out of your team. Mm-hmm. I think there's been seasons of our business where, we kind of have some results and we kind of sat back a little bit and we're like, hey, people can figure that out now. Like I've put my time in.
They went through a process. They'll figure it
out. Yeah. And to this day, like 80+% of your organization, like you guys own serving the heck out of your team and applying that. So it's very much a two-way relationship there, but we've seen you guys get nitty and gritty with people and their networking, right? And walk alongside of them when they're struggling to get results and helping them like make tweaks. Like you guys have really figured out how to lead people in that way. So would love to hear any thoughts you have on that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys sharing all that. And I think for us, like our mindset, and this is something that we've had to develop. It wasn't something that came natural to us necessarily, but we just had to get over the fear of it not paying off. Mm-hmm. Of like, oh, if I go an extra hour with this individual to just like get in the weeds and help them develop some customers, or if I go, 30 minutes, hour a week to help that person lock in their networking and learn how to book C-list meet and greets or whatever it is, like, is it really going to pay off? Are they really going to do it? Oh, that person's not quite phased me. And so I don't know, like, I don't know if I want to spend all my time there. And we've just developed the mindset of, we're going to honor our end. We take someone through a process with the understanding and the commitment that we're going to show up and do our part to do what we can to help them create success. And whether or not they take those tools, the mindset, the resources that we can hopefully give them in 30 minutes or an hour when we're hopping on a call or getting into some of those working sessions, we can't control, but we can control, again, honoring our end and giving them the best shot.
Yeah, I mean, we're just, we're givers at heart. And we look at Mason and Ellie the way that you guys were with us. I mean, just being willing to serve, being willing to invest your time, your energy, your finances to come visit us, pay for meals. And you study some of the most successful people in this environment. They all have such big hearts. They just want to help people. And that's one of the things that we look to implement. Like we just genuinely want to help people win. And how cool is that as a function of helping other people win? We get to win. Mm-hmm. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, I think a part of it too does come down to finding that right balance between, standards, but also building relationships and being able to be relatable and, likable, because both ends of the spectrum are really important. And I think typically people fall on one end or the other. We're both, I think, people pleasers by nature.
Recovering.
Yeah. But again, some people will fall too heavily sometimes, I think, on the side of just like standards, and forget about the relatability piece. And then a lot of times other people will fall on the other end of the spectrum where it's almost too relatable, too friendly, and you lose your ability to lead someone because you don't have that posture anymore. And so I think that just like goes back to us too, for like starting from the process. How do we set standards and help people rise to them along the way? I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that.
It's great.
Excellent. I just think about watching the evolution of you guys and the evolution of your business. And it's funny if you study that, and I recommend anybody does that in this arena. You listen to the stories of people who've gone through their journeys, and you study not just their business, you study the evolution of them as people, and you hear where they came from. And there's a lot of parallels of overcoming, of setbacks, of that. So one specific thing that I would love for you guys to just share on in the last few minutes here is just a little bit more on setting your life up to go win in this environment. And as the last panel alluded to, just like choosing to treat this as professionals, and that shift that you guys made in that. And Todor, I would argue that you probably did that fairly quickly, but you had to recalibrate after you launched some people and maybe lost a couple. And maybe just talk through that. And Koya, maybe you're a little bit slower to that game to really treat it as a professional. So share some of that, how you guys have simplified your life to really go win in this environment in the last couple of minutes. And you guys can wrap it up too.
Yeah, totally. Appreciate that. So I think, one of the things that's important to understand is it's a process. It's never going to be perfect. Like, we simplify our life. It's going to be a continual battle. There's going to be things that are going to always be trying to creep in. So there's a couple of areas that we've been pretty intentional about simplifying. For me, it was kind of like my double-mindedness when it came to business early on. Like I said, there were a lot of different businesses, things that I was pursuing. So it was a matter of locking in truthfully where do I want to be in the next 5 years? What's going to get me there the fastest, and going all in there. And so, had some early results when it came to the AB list, and launched, I think, five, six individuals. In that first year, I launched a little bit before Koya did. And long story short, I lost a couple of individuals and had to develop a skill set when it came to C-list. And it was just a matter of figuring out a way to then reprioritize business, make that a priority. Because to be honest, one of the things I've learned from Mason is nothing fails like success. And I started to create a little bit of success, and I started to kind of put my feet up and said, okay, I launched 6 people. Now they're just going to go do exactly what I did. And the way that you build belief in your team is you continue to set the example. And that's one of the things that we've been pretty intentional about.
Yeah. I think really practically, when it comes to simplifying our life, we've just focused on our environment. Like, how can we remove the things from our environment that do steal our time? And a lot of us are just not aware in the beginning, like, of what does take our time. So one thing that's helped us, and we continue to revisit, is like doing a time audit of what are the time sucks, the energy sucks in our life, and how can we reprioritize or shift our focus from those. Simple things like meal planning. It seems so small, but it takes up so much mental energy if you're every night thinking at 5 p.m., what are we going to cook for dinner? We got to run to the grocery store. Oh, now I got to, spend 2 hours cooking or whatever it is. Thinking about how can you simplify and set yourself up well in your job, maybe get with your coach and negotiate a little bit more of a higher income so that you can better set yourself up to win in an environment like this. There are a lot of different ways that you can optimize your life and simplify your life. I think it just comes down to being vulnerable to admit some of the areas you can change in, and then getting with your coach to create a solution around those things.
Yeah, so we got about 18 seconds left here. I think we'll go ahead and wrap up, but really just proud to wave the Leadership One banner high and get Founders Platinum done by the end of this fiscal year. Back to the host.
For the calendar year 2024, the average income from Amway for all U.S. registered IBOs at the Founders Platinum level and below was $723 before expenses. See www.amway.com/income-disclosure for details and the most up-to-date information. Earnings depend on many factors. including customer base, business experience, effort, dedication, and quality and performance of the downline sales team. While the techniques and approaches suggested have worked for others, no one can guarantee that these techniques and approaches will work for you. In addition, we want to emphasize that success in this business does not come without hard work. This is a copyrighted program of Markerman Productions, affiliated with MarkerNet Incorporated. Duplication of this program is strictly prohibited. For existing IBOs only, not for use with prospects.